Any memorabilia or anything?
Yeah, we get ready.
Okay.
Thank you all. It looks so nice.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Excellent. Hey.
Thank you.
How's things going good for you? Hip dry?
Yep. Everything like that.
We want to welcome everyone to the 18th Annual National Wrestling Hall of Fame Banquet, sponsored by the West Virginia chapter. And at this time, we'd like for everyone to stand as we give a pledge of allegiance to the flag, and please remain standing so we have a blessing. I pledge allegiance
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask everybody to bow their heads. Right here. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for our many blessings. We're truly grateful. Today we're gathered together to honor several men who have truly witnessed a blessing in their lives, and we want to honor them. They are being honored for their service, Lord, to the sport of wrestling. Their friends and family have come to recognize and applaud their accomplishments. Young men and women that they have coached and mentored are here to acknowledge what these men have meant to them, how they inspired and enriched the lives of others. As a legacy that we can only hope that those whose lives they have touched will carry on into the future. Now, Lord, we pray that you bless the hands that prepared the meal, and that the meal will be received to the nourishment of our bodies so that we can better serve you. We ask it all in your precious holy name. Amen.
Okay, we'd like to have this year's inductees and their partners. You can get in line for food. We've got tables on both sides. So you get to go first.
Let's get on with the real facts. All previous inductees in the Hall of Fame, please stand up. Always trying to pick two of them out. County back there. I appreciate you supporting me on the internet, and Jenny, that's this asshole can only say stuff about me. It's not my fault if you come to state tournament and get a parking ticket. You can't expect me to let every team that calls get into WSAZ, and then we're wrestling later than 12. I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry. And probably the greatest wrestler in West Virginia history, stand back there, Mike Mason. Stand up, Mike. And his father snapped just like I did, because he should have been in the finals. And I think they probably know it, but if they don't know it, I'm friends with several guys that do the national tournament, much better than the guys in West Virginia that constantly need to be tutored. But they used Mike's match the next year to show how not to call it. Mike, did you know that? I just wanted to verify and tell him the truth. Mike's dad was so pissed when he was out in the hallway, and the kid was a good kid, but Mike did what everybody else did in overtime, and it's on for Stoney. Now, I would still be arguing. And then how old are you now, Mike? Okay, so I'd be arguing about 20 years. But anyway, he'd have probably been our first national champion. But ended up being All-American many times, and spent many times at my house. And his dad's killed way more deer than me. I think he's sneaking in the case. But anyway, so you guys know, we encourage everybody to come back all the time, because the Hall of Fame uses this to make money. And when we have 170, that's not bad. But sometimes I think the Bennetts and Archers have donated to the cause. Wayne handles the money, so maybe he lied and stole it from me, I don't know. But they do a great job in handling it, and people call me and I give them Wayne's number. But we appreciate the people here, and there's people that have been to every one, and there's people we give all the stuff to and we never see them again. And what I think we should do is send in a donation if you're not coming. But anyway, it's a good thing. And the reason I'm sure Wayne and I are both in the Hall of Fame, we just do this because we have the free time now. But when I was doing it, when I was being a principal, wasn't that easy. But all I really do is sit up here and talk, and I don't really like being up down at Catholics anymore. And if you're a Catholic, that's okay, but they're crooked as shit. No, I was looking at the financial thing, and I said, wait a minute, what are we doing here? And they said, oh, we give, that's Wheeling Park, Wheeling Central, they have an investment. And I said, wait a minute, they have an investment that brings in $1 million a year? You need to take some of my money and put this in this thing. And I asked the guy, and he goes, no, we give that to Wheeling Central because that's where our kids go. I said, the budget at St. Joe's only 1.3 million, and you give $1 million to Wheeling Central, no wonder. Okay, St. Joe, it was me. There was no assistant principal, no president, no vice president, nothing. And Wheeling Central has president, vice president, 3 counselors, assistant principals, and I said, no wonder, you can do all that. But I enjoyed being there, but I like the dress code. Rob had me cut hunting high one day, and I'm going back Tuesday and Wednesday to be assistant principal. First off, they got rid of the mask stuff, and I can go. But I'm not too sure about that stuff. I can't tell what I can't tell what they are. They all have long hair, and everybody dresses crappy. And my granddaughter says that there's something wrong with me, but that's better than the little one. She told Diane that she should date somebody else. That's not funny. That's not funny. No, I have a lot of feelings. But she really did do that. But I took her for a ride in the ice storm over to the farm, and she said, Danny, Bill was running over cords in the road. He ran into trees, and he got the saw out and sawing them up, and it was pretty bad. And I was pretty sure I was giving her a story. I told you I don't steal jokes, I just have stories. Okay, this is the last story. My first day I went to St. Joe, I pull in, and I'm going, okay, now you gotta pretend like you're dealing with your father-in-law. So you gotta not be yourself. You just gotta go in and be normal. And I pull up, and I had the crappiest place. I put it right beside the dumpster. I look, and the cardboard's coming out. I go, I don't think that's like a volcano dumpster. What is this? So I knock on the dumpster. This guy goes, oh! And I said, hey, man, what are you doing? I said, what are you doing knocking on my dumpster? I didn't see an address on it, but I said, sir, I really don't, are you living in here looking for something to eat? I don't care about that. But would you not throw this stuff out because it's in the garden? Well, all right. So I went back in. I didn't see the guy for 2 or 3 weeks, and I didn't get the box. I don't need to see. I was acting like the principal of St. Joe because I thought the first day you shouldn't shoot a guy with a dumpster. So anyway, pull up 2 weeks later. I said, maybe I should just shoot. I could shoot the dumpster. That wouldn't like be here. They wouldn't hear it at 6 in the morning. So anyway, I do it again. I said, hey man, I asked you not to throw this stuff out of the dumpster. He goes, so what are you going to do about it? Oh yeah, that's like Huntington High. So I hear this noise, and a girl jumps out of the dumpster across the street. And she goes, Coach Archer will kick your ass. And I went, another Huntington High success story. All right, I will quit being myself. Okay, let me introduce the board. Bill, let's see, Wayne and Diane Bennett first, or Diana Bennett, stand up. Wayne, you can stand up. And Diane, I've already told about you. We have our duties well together, 52 years, luckiest woman in the world. I'm in charge of the checkbook, my books, and the channel changer. She does everything else. Diane, stand up. Those of you that are thinking, how in the hell did he do that? I've heard that my whole life. I don't want to hear it anymore. Doc is here with us with his wife, Marianne, if you want to stand up. And Doc, everything you say? Doc, give us a tip for life. Give us something to go with.
I don't have any tips at all. You're on your
people tell. I think his IQ is probably 69 points higher than mine, and that puts him at about 169. And when Doc had his health problem, we went up to see him, and he was worse then than he is now. And people don't realize how helpful it is and how advanced we are on West Virginia math. And we were greatly worried that Doc likes people getting on me, and he would put anything on me. And I said, Doc, this guy just say crap. So his wife tells me, Doc kind of likes the conflict. I said, not if he's the one they're getting on. But anyway, that brings me to introduce Jenny. Jenny, stand up, please. Jenny became famous, now running the website, and she does a little better than Doc. I think she came up there to the state tournament and they were getting on us, and she goes, this is so wrong. I said, yeah, welcome to the team. That's the way it goes. But we thought we suffered through the last state tournament 4 days, and just as an example for the guys that know something about it, the meals for the kids were $21,000. So I've just finished scrumming with them, and I got some more money out of some different people. So we ended up making $11,000, but for a while we were losing money. But they have promised me we're not going to do that again. Not going to do that again. Okay, let's see. George, where are you? George King is in charge of getting the building, and he did all the meals and stuff. Dr. Welker's in the back. Doc, where are you? Stand up. Bill, stand up.
I've been involved in wrestling here in West Virginia for over 50 years, but I have to say the proudest moment I ever had was in 2005. I was at the state tournament. The coaches were having a meeting. I announced my retirement. I received a standing ovation, and somebody yelled out, "There is a God."
Gary Benner couldn't make it. Coach Michaels, most of you know, is still fighting cancer. And is that it? Hey. You're shaking your head. So, Jenny's a new person on the board. She took Doc's place. She's going to have to talk a lot more and make more crazy statements than him. So anyway, let's get on with what we got to go by. And let me tell you how I do this. They give you a big book on how to do this, and I'm sure I probably skipped it. But anyway, they don't want anybody introducing the people. They said their former wrestlers would get up there and talk longer than his speech. Now, about the people speaking, they've already been told that they should stay around 3 or 4 minutes. The all-time record is, Randy, what's the all-time record?
29 minutes, 32 seconds.
Randy worked for me at St. Joe and wrestled for me. He knows we got ahead exactly right. And the shortest, Kirby followed the longest speech, and he went, hell, you wore me out. Let's that in. So you have a large range, but we got a lot of people, and I'll shut up and I'll go. Okay, who's the first one to book, Diane? Okay, Jenny, what am I supposed to tell them?
Although we will take each inductee with his group of friends and family after they all get to talk at it.
Right, don't forget, that Doc started this, and we want her to continue, and she did too. So you come up here, we got guys that are going to give you the plaque, and we take that picture, and then go back, and then when it's all over, we get a group picture of the people that are here that you want to support you, and also the whole group with the jackets on. Okay, who's first, Diane? Randy Daniels, come on up.
It's a tough act to follow. Thank you, Bill, for everything. I'm honored that my colleagues have selected me for this award. Thank you very much. I'm also humbled because, as most of you would know, that these achievements were the results of hard work and dedication of a lot of people. First, I'd like to thank my wife, Karen, and my children, Joshua and Kara, for their love and support, which has been the foundation of all the things important in my life. I'd also like to thank all the student athletes who so willingly gave so much time and effort to be as successful as they could be. I also want to thank all my assistant coaches who always brought new ideas and techniques and a winning attitude to all the teams that they helped me with. I'd especially like to thank Lou Keaton, Jason Chamberlain, Bobby Elam, Ken Mcwilliams, and the late D. Aiken. I'd also like to thank all the parents and family who were so supportive throughout all the years with the fundraising, traveling, and especially for raising such dedicated student athletes. I'd also like to thank all the administrators and the faculty that supported the program throughout the years. I'd also at last like to thank some very special friends for their support of the wrestling programs over the years. Mr. Racing Thompson, David and Nancy Gentry, Willard and Mel Jean Walker, Gary and Alicia Peters, Wayne Bennett, and my favorite crosstown rivals, Ed Gilson and Larry Snuffle. Last but not least, I'd like to thank all my fellow coaches and officials who have tolerated my spirited behavior. But at the end of the day, I still felt we were friends and always will be. Thank you very much.
Next is Tom Giovingo, and his son is here to accept the award from him.
Well, I was going to mention that one of the best accolades my dad ever had was starting a wrestling program at a Catholic school, but I don't know. Maybe I should have mentioned that. You guys only had $1 million budget. That was just our recruiting budget. On behalf of my family, we want to thank the committee, Dr. Welker, everybody for being here and honoring my dad with this. You know, for my dad, coaching youth wrestling was his life. He learned everything from Larry Chambers at Union High School, and Larry was his mentor and friend for life. And my dad learned from Larry about the respect and the fairness that wrestling taught, and that was my dad's main goal. You know, the wins, state championships, and kids that he coached, the state titles, meant a lot to him, but none of it meant as much as the respect that he demanded out of his kids, out of his assistant coaches, families involved in the program, and things like that. He demanded that you respect your opponent, you respect the rules of the sport, and fairness was a major part of my dad's coaching philosophy too. You know, he made sure everything was fair for every kid on the team, even the kids that maybe not were such great athletes or skilled wrestlers. He made sure they got their fair shake in the practice room and at the tournaments and in matches. You know, fairness when it came to making weight, my dad was a stickler for that. You know, if the weight class was 75 pounds, even for his own sons, if you weighed 75.1, you had work to do. You know, he wasn't going to compromise his principles and standards for anybody in the sport. And I mean anybody. So I'll tell you a quick story to show that he demanded respect out of everybody. We were at a wrestling tournament that he was the tournament director, Banquet Bruisers Invitational, and I was wrestling my longtime rival from Cameron, West Virginia. And it was a very close match, and things started to get a little heated between some of the parents. And a lot of commotion was caused, and my dad stopped the match and stopped the whole tournament. And he told the people involved that wrestling wasn't going to continue until the parents settled down and quit causing such a commotion. They were being disrespectful to the referee, the coaches, to the wrestlers on the mat. And it just so happened that the two people involved were the mothers of the wrestlers, my mom and the boy from Cameron's mom. Things got really heated, and we got nose to nose, and things started to look ugly, and my dad told the lady from Cameron, "You're going to have to leave. Mrs. Dobbs, you're going to have to leave. You can no longer stay in this gym. We will not continue wrestling until you leave." And to show his fairness and that he demanded respect, we all thought that was a big victory until he looked at my mom and said, "Well, you can follow her too." He had them both removed from the gym, and he wasn't going to compromise anything to make sure that, you know, the sport remained and continued its integrity. And you know, lifetime service to wrestling really describes my dad. He volunteered countless hours as a youth and high school coach, never once receiving a paycheck even from the high school. As Mr. Archer would tell you, Catholic schools pretend they don't have the budget for that. But you know, even till 2018 in February, he was still volunteering, keeping score at youth wrestling tournaments, and he was at the Monarch Youth Wrestling Tournament. That he was keeping score, and he came to me and told me he didn't feel good, and that he needed to go home, and I needed to find somebody else to step in his place. And he would go home that night, and we'd have to take him to the hospital, and about a month later he would pass away from a blood cancer. But it was that lifetime of wrestling. He was still giving back, you know, up to a month until his passing. So we thank you on behalf of my mom and my brother Tom that's here, and my nephew and sister-in-law, and my other brothers who couldn't make it. We thank everybody, and from the bottom of our hearts, he would have been proud. Thank you.
Next is Mr. Jeff Gibbons.
Now, first off, I want to thank all the people in the committee here that put this fine banquet together. Like some other people mentioned, I was extremely humbled. This 4-minute time constraint's a little tough for me because my banquets used to last for like hours, but I promise I'll be as brief as I can. You got to start out when you get these awards. I think everybody knows you don't get them by yourself. I want to thank my family. My mom's sitting over there. My dad passed in 2017. I promise you this would have been a really, really big thing for him because he loved these kind of things and liked to see people succeed. Paul Dowler tells me the best thing I ever did was marry my wife Penny, and I think he's probably right. She's sitting over there. Obviously, she, like every other coach's wife in the room here, she's put up with a lot and is extremely, does a lot of work and probably don't get a little much credit. both the kids there, Stephanie and Matt, made the trip. We decided to leave the 5 grandkids because we didn't want to destroy the banquet in the first hour, so we didn't bring them today. I started wrestling in 7th grade. This is how it went. Bob Pickens was the newly hired PE teacher at Williamstown High School. We didn't have a middle school team or junior high, whatever you want to call it back in the day, so Bob decided we were going to have a wrestling team. We have no idea. I don't know what wrestling is. I mean, I was scared of this WWE stuff. I really was. He drafted by sizes. We wore our gym outfits and our Chuck Taylor tennis shoes, and we go wrestle these matches. I have no idea what we're doing. Maybe 3 or 4 practices, and he's going to start a wrestling team. Well, needless to say, it did not end well for me. And I'm like, I'm never doing that again. Well, the next year, after those previous experiences, our youth league, a guy named Dick Casto, should be in this hall. If there's ever a guy that laid the cornerstone, that Bob will tell you, for years to come, he laid the foundation for success for a lot of us. For all of us, actually, our whole entire Williamstown program. But anyhow, he got me out, and I wrestled and had some success there. And then Williamstown High School did one of the best things the next year. They hired Bob Pickens as the high school wrestling coach. We all know, I mean, still top 3 or 4 and state champions. And I happened to be his first 4-year letterman. Probably his best recruiting poster. I won a state championship for him in 1981. And I know there was kids after I said, if that guy could be good, we got to try this. So I'm pretty sure I'm a good recruit for him. I remember the days of wrestling high school. I got to tell you, guys like Bill Mason, John Hood, and those guys that knew Bob pretty well come in and wrestle with us. Bill Mason, Mike's dad back here, he'd come in for a solid hour. My face would never get off the mat. And then he'd tell you, man, you're really getting good. You're really getting good. And I'm thinking, I haven't scored. You know, I'm still bleeding. You know, I don't understand that, but I appreciate those guys. Bill was our first state champion in Williamstown High School history. And obviously he did pretty well with his son coming through. I got to thank the coaches that worked with me. And like I said, this is kind of because I was with Bob all the way through. And Bob certainly left me with a lot of talent. And some of the guys helped me. Paul Dowler, he's in here somewhere. He made a trip down from Columbus. He's always been there for me. He was more than a statistician. He was the second dad to those kids. And believe me, he took care of problems I probably don't want to know about. But just a great, great role model for him, and always traveled with us, always traveled. In fact, more people know him in the state than they did Bob and I. That's no lie. Bobby Kelly's here with me today. He started out, he's a neighbor, he's a friend, we grew up together. Heck of a wrestler in his time as well. He's always been with me all steps of the way, helping, coaching, and supporting us. I appreciate that. Ryan Scott's another guy who's always there. Denny Flowers and Josh Flesher, they helped me back in the day. And then I couldn't miss Pat Peters, which I think Pat and a guy named Timmy Haddock sitting back here had a lot to do with filling out the paperwork for me to be here today. So I appreciate you guys doing this. It means a lot to me. All right, if I got to say a quick thing about the refs. I have a lot of refs. You know, I know Bill Archer said, you're not supposed to like refs. What are you talking about? You're a wrestling coach. You can't like the referees. But anyways, I will say this. I was warned 1,242 times they won't throw me out, but I never actually ever got thrown out. But anyhow, I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys. Kenny McWilliams, Chris Casario, those guys, I bring them in from wherever they're at to do our tournament for years. Woody Burns is a great friend of mine. If I said, Woody, you're killing me once, I've said it a million times, I promise you. Anyways, I appreciate you guys and the job you had to do. We couldn't have done it without you. I will say this, if there's anybody in here that I had any part to do, you wrestle for me, because we got a lot of them, because I'm getting to go in with one of our young men up there you're going to hear a lot about here in a little bit, Tyler Westbrook. If I coached you in some way, stand up for a minute. Stand up for a minute. We got several in here. Wow. Guys, I'm going to tell you what, this honor I'm getting today, it's partly yours and your great families, because I guarantee I can't do it my own. I appreciate everything you guys did. Thank you, guys.
Ken Mcwilliams, it's not been so long since he passed away, and I always enjoyed going to the state tournament, and he appreciated my humor, and he appreciated the point that he got to referee the state tournament. His daughters are Jocelyn and Whitney, and they're going to accept the award from him.
Thank you all. Appreciate you having us, very much so. We are the daughters of Ken Mcwilliams. A lot of you know him very well. Whitney and Jocelyn. We're so honored and thankful to accept this award on behalf of our dad. Our father, as you guys know, a lot of you passed away this last February in a 5-month battle with esophageal cancer. So he would love to be here to be with all of you. He loved his time with you guys so much. So thank you. Though we don't know a lot of you that well, and you might not know us that well, we feel like we know a lot of you very, very well because of our dad's detailed, and we mean detailed stories. We heard about it from a lot of you guys already. You're like, hey, your dad could tell a story that would take 20 minutes, and it should have been 5. So no need for you all to check your watches. We promise we'll be brief. I know that was a move that as soon as my dad started talking, everyone would pull up their watches, take a look. But thankfully we didn't inherit that much. We can be brief, I promise. So one of our dad's greatest wishes was to referee for 50 years. He would have accomplished that this next upcoming year. So he was very, very close to that accomplishment. He loved officiating. He loved the sport of wrestling, and he really loved all of you. So thank you so much for being a big part of his life. Officiating wrestling was such a big part of his life, like I said, and he would have been really proud to receive this honor from the West Virginia chapter of the USA Wrestling. We'd like to thank Josh Welker. Thank you so much. Our dad's state interpreter for nominating him, and he had these words to say of praise for our dad. He wrote that Ken Mcwilliams was one of those men in the mat who cared. The C in care, C-A-R-E, stands for compassion. Ken was a compassionate official. The A stands for approachable. Ken was an approachable official. The R stands for respect. Ken was a well-respected official. And the E stands for ethical. Ken was an ethical official of extreme integrity. Thank you, Doc, for those kind words. We appreciate it very much. Thank you, Doc. Thank you so much. Our dad would travel many weekends, many nights, to officiate. And when he'd come home, we'd ask him, like, hey, Dad, how'd the match go? And he always emphasized, hey, I kept the wrestler safe. It was one of his biggest things. He wanted to make sure that he made it about them, didn't make it about him, and he made sure that he refereed a real safe match. So we're so proud of our dad, and we're so thankful for this. This is my sister. She'll take the rest of the way.
We just want to tell you a little story that exemplifies my dad's athletic talent and total devotion as a team player. At Chartiers Houston High School in Pennsylvania, he wrestled at the 138-pound weight class and played football weighing 165 pounds in high school's Hall of Fame football team. Recently, he was introduced to several people by the team's star running back, who was the size of Jerome Bettis, and he said, he had my dad, who was a little short, stand in front of him, and he said, this man used to block for me. He was the key to my success on the field. My dad lost his parents at age 15, which is one of the reasons why he was totally committed to his family, friends, and community. There was nothing that my dad enjoyed more than spending time with his family, especially my mother, Sandy, who he was married to for 46 years. Even after all those years of marriage, they loved going on trips together. They recently accomplished their goal of visiting all 50 states. While they were in Oklahoma, my dad made a special point of visiting the Wrestling Hall of Fame so that he could see his friends' accomplishments. My dad loved officiating, and he especially loved refereeing in West Virginia. He used to travel all the time with his best friend, Barry Gatchell, and I would just thank his family for being here, Jill and Amanda and Ruth. He was nominated in 2015. He was inducted. My dad always wore his WVU jacket and his many mountain shirts, and people would always be like, oh, why are you such a big fan of WVU? And my dad would say, well, I love West Virginia because I've met so many wonderful people there. He really wasn't the biggest WVU fan. He was just a fan of the people of West Virginia. Our father was a man of highest character at home, in the community, and on the mat. We are extremely honored to receive this plaque for his lifetime service to wrestling in the state of West Virginia. Thank you.
I was Ken's supervisor at the States for many, many years. I just want to tell you one quick story. That E for ethical is absolutely correct. He had one match once, and he made a real tough call. And one coach said, if you don't change that call, you'll never do another match at my school. He never did another match at his school.
Inductees, Brian Milk.
No, thank you very much. I'm truly honored and obviously humbled by this award. It's amazing. I want to thank Wayne Bennett, obviously, and Bill Archer and the whole Hall of Fame committee. I'd like to thank the West Virginia chapter, the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, and obviously the whole wrestling family, which seems to be the common word around here. So I appreciate everybody. Thank you very much. So to get the Lifetime Service Award for wrestling, wow. It's amazing for me to be honored for having fun. Just for all my life. And how I'm going to do 45 years of coaching in a 4-minute speech is going to be tough. I'll make it quick. I really will. I'll try to. Bill told me the shortest one was 19 seconds and the longest one was 29 minutes by George Keeney. So I called. So obviously I called George for a few tips. Yeah, I want to thank you, George. The one on page 29 is pretty funny. You wait here. I'm kidding. It's on page 30. Seriously, I'll keep it. And heck, I mean, like I said, for 5 minutes. I feel bad for Coach Wayne. It'll take me a minute and a half to say his last name. So seriously, I want to have a lot of people to thank. I want my wife, my kids. Actually, they say I'm self-centered when it comes to wrestling. Well, enough about that. No, seriously, I want to thank my wife, Gail. She does so much for me. She's always there to help me, as we've heard from all the other wives, and she's just tremendous. She helps me with everything. She's beautiful. She's a wonderful mother. She's smart. She's, honey, I can't read your writing over here. I'm smart. No, seriously, she's the beginning of my game. I get fired up. I get crazy sometimes with wrestling. I get goofy, and all the referees are not yet, so I apologize for that. But no, she is. She keeps me grounded, and she really does keep things into perspective. Also, I want to thank my daughters, Brianna, Marissa, and Holly. I've been blessed. They've been on this journey with me the whole time. Brianna, it's appropriate that today's banquet is today. It's the same day that USA Wrestling Brian Keck Memorial Tournament is being held in Iowa. Brian Keck wrestled for me, and my daughter Brianna was named after him. So it's you want to hear a success story? Let me tell you something about Brian Keck. It's a tremendous story. Next, we have Marissa. She was born the same day we won our first North Coast League championship for Padua. She was so great that she waited until after we took the team picture and left the trophy. And there is a picture at our school at Padua with me looking down at our pager. Remember those back days when you had the pagers? And she waited until I had to run up to the hospital that she was delivered that day. So I love you, Marissa. Thank you for being great. And Holly, my third one, we would talk wrestling, hung out with our buddies together. And I told her one time, sitting around, and Tincher could probably appreciate this, I said, hey, I need a 103-pounder to win our county championships. And I go, our kid's hurt. She goes, Dad, I can do it. I can do it without batting an eye. So So sure enough, she does her practice she's supposed to do. She gets the skin fold test, she makes weight and stuff like that. And thank goodness our kid came back and he was healthy. And but to this day, she does say she was the only undefeated wrestler I had that year. I love you, Holly. Thanks for being great. I appreciate it. As you can see, I've been blessed and very, very lucky, and I surround myself with great people. As I tell all my wrestlers, there's greatness all around us, and there is. Just in this room alone, it's tremendous. And my job as a coach was always, I can't be great, just let me create that opportunity for greatness, and that's what I tried to do. Now for a quick summary of my wrestling history, I wrestled at Padua High School for Coach Busher. He left after my junior year. I wrestled at Ashland College for Coach Chris Ford, Hall of Famer. He left after my sophomore year. Wait a minute, I see a pattern here. You know you're a lousy wrestler when your coach is under the transfer portal. But anyways, let me get a little bit serious now regarding to this award. When you're at the Olympic Training Center, there's a sign up there. When you're there, you just look up and you'll see it. It says, "Friendships born on the field of athletic strife are the real gold of competition. Awards become corroded, friends gather no trust," by Jesse Owens. It's in the Olympic Training Center there. And I've been blessed, and I've been lucky to have so many friends, and I don't call my ex-wrestlers, I call them my friends. So again, I remember if he was 4th in the state or 5th in the state years ago, but I still remember as a coach the first time I cried. I remember being asked to be a best man. I remember being a godfather for a kid that became a Christian. I remember being a confirmation sponsor. I remember, unfortunately, being a pallbearer. I had to give the eulogy at Ferguson's funeral. Getting that phone call, 3 in the morning. The kid wants to give up his child for adoption. I can go on and on and on. Another kid calls me 2 days before he has to land a fighter plane on a stinking boat out in the ocean. "Coach, give me a little pep talk. Can you talk to me?" I go, "Hey, I'm scared, man. I don't even like to fly." But those are the things I remember. Those are the relationships, and as Jesse Owens said, those are the friendships you have. So when I coached at St. Ed's, I thought life was easy. I mean, I coached there, we won the state championship 10 years in a row, 6 national titles. I was surrounded by so many great people. It wasn't unusual for me to have an Olympian in this day, Gene Mills working out with me the next day, meeting Dave Schultz the next day. Our kids went to Iowa, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Cornell, Edinburgh. I had Mike Deanna in the room more often than that. I remember getting beat up by Kyle Dake's dad down in Ferguson's basement, so that tells you a lot. But I was lucky, and they became my friends, and I was very lucky with that. And again, I would just be working out with Danny Folesy. 3 weeks later, he's beating John Smith at the NCAA quarterfinals. I'm working out with Gene Mills. A month later, I'm with him down on the floor in Toledo at the World Cup when he beats Belaglasso. I mean, I was just lucky. I was lucky to be around these people and surrounded with greatness. So, again, I became a big fan of people that are great. Went to Padua because they said they were going to drop the program, long story short. And so I took over the program. We were 0-12, we stunk. We were 9-1. Then we took 2nd in the state, and then we started doing things. We had a state champion that year. Things started good. But what I did is they brought the other people in that I knew. I brought in Steve Frazier, he won the gold medal. I brought in the Banquet brothers. Helen Freed came over all the time. Greg Alinsky, Jimmy, people that I grew up with and knew. So I was blessed. I just surrounded our kids with greatness and started to wear off on them. We started doing well, and things were clicking. Heck, I remember where I was when Dave Schultz got shot. We were at a tournament, and Bill Barger from Walsh Jesuit comes up to me, "Look, hear about Schultz?" And now he told me he got shot. And there are those moments in wrestling life. They remember what happened when John F. Kennedy got shot. Bill, you remember when Lincoln got shot. You know? But, long story short, again, those are moments that you really do, you believe in. So it's nice. So I just started surrounding myself, and I moved to West Virginia. And sure enough, I started doing the same thing. I started surrounding myself with great people. I started bringing in national champions. We went and built a new wrestling facility. We had Kevin Dresser, with Roby there, Jared Frater, the Olympian, coming in. Everybody was welcome, all right? Wade Jealous. We took 63 kids to a Virginia Tech Ohio State match just to give them that opportunity to be greatness or to be with great people. We set up the state duels. So again, next thing you know, you're winning, we're doing well. We finally won the county championship. We won the region. It took our school 30 years to win 3 individual regional championships. We did that in 1 weekend, 1 day. We had 5 champs. Jake T. Thomas over there, he won 2. I mean, Nick Thomas, he was a big factor in helping us win one of our county championships. So man, this is important. This is good stuff. So again, now I just follow my wrestlers with their college success. And again, surround yourself with great people. I was blessed. I got asked every year, he takes to make sure every kid gets accepted into college. Whether they're going to college or not, he makes them take the fast, but he goes, hey, I know you're not going to college, but you know what? In 10 years, 20 years, excuse me, not 10, 20 years, you may have a child that wants to go. Get over that fear. And every kid that ever wrestled for me at Free Race was accepted to college. Not all of them went, but that was his role. He did it for them. I mean, I got Ron Magruder. He's already, people don't even know that. He is in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. And he came over to Greenberg County and helps Jeremy, helps me. He's just a beyond a fan and a good human being. We bring in people into our wrestling room outside the wrestling greatness. We bring people along walks of life. So again, I've been lucky. A good regular example is I go to the Nationals with him. We're sitting there now. Full circle. I go to St. Louis, the Nationals, who do we see? I'm sitting there talking to Nate Carr, his son David's wrestling. David's individual partner is Jimmy McLemore's son. Jimmy McLemore's my daughter's godfather. I mean, it's just a small circle. It's a small world we're out there. We're yelling at Roger Chandler, Jimmy Heffern, and all these Big Ten coaches that I'm lucky enough to hang around and lucky enough to coach when I was younger. So again, I've been blessed. And to be honored for something I love, to be honored to be with my friends, this is mind-boggling. This is just beautiful. Then we go to Cleveland for the Nationals there. I'm walking over to the arena to watch the Nationals with a buddy of mine from ESPN. He goes, hey, hurry up, Mel, we gotta get going. I got these 3 guys I gotta interview. I said, all right, let's go. We get over there. There it is. There's Dan Gable, Larry Owens, and Mike Chapman. And they go, Mel, how you doing? Good. Hey, I go, and this is how old I am. Think how old they are. I go, hey, you guys mind if I get a selfie? And I go like this. And next thing you know, Dan Gable, Owens, and Chapman move out of the way. They go, I thought you wanted a selfie. I go, no, with you knuckleheads. So anyways, but just to be gifted and to be able to hang around and to know these people and to tell stories. I can go on for years and years and years, and I'm not going to. But again, there's so many personal stories. But the bottom line, I have it in my wrestling room and everywhere I've been. Be a good person first, then be a good wrestler. Because someday, honestly guys, hopefully I get up to the pearly gates and I'm up there and God's not going to come up to me and say, hey, Miller, now when you got that bar and a half, do you bump your hip, or when you finish a Metzger, do you go right to your back, or can you show me the legs again? He's not gonna. He's just gonna ask you, how well did you serve others? And that's what we're doing here as coaches. And I'm finishing up here right quick last year, because God's gonna say that. You know, He's gonna say, what did you do to serve others? That's when I'll show him the West Virginia plaque, just in case you're to prove it to him that I tried to do something. All right. I was lucky enough and blessed, like I said, as a coach. I coached national champs, state champions, doesn't matter, Olympians, gold. I've just been lucky. Okay. And I try to share, and I bring in many champions here. I also realized, and you guys know this as educators yourself, and even parents, I realized that wrestlers really don't care what you know. They just want to know that you care. And it works so true in life and everything. So, in conclusion, I want to thank Bobby Mason and the Mason family. You guys don't know who he is, but I want to thank him because he got me into wrestling. I want to thank everybody who's been with me through this journey. And again, like I said, I've been blessed. And one final thank you goes out to Howard Ferguson. I have to say he was the most influential coach in my life. I mean, he built an addition onto his house just so I could stay with him as we worked on the book The Edge. Then he sent me down the basement to work out with Mike and Giovingo that I get beat up all the time. And also with Brian Keck. I love you, Brian. He passed away also, and both of these guys should be thinking about me right now, and I'm thinking about them. So again, I was lucky with them. All right, let me leave all the coaches here who were inducted today with this one piece of acknowledgement that I received from a wrestling, like one of my wrestlers who's also in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. He said, Millick, he said, congratulations on the Hall of Fame. He says, I got into the Hall of Fame for what I did. He said, Millick, you got in for what you did for others. He says, that's big time. So, I'm ready for questions now? No, I'm kidding. That is big time. God bless everybody. Thank you, and I love you, Timmy. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Dean Moore. Mr. Moore, you can start walking up here now. Mr. Moore is one of my friends that if you ever hunt, you always have to have pictures of the deer you see. And unfortunately, he shows me most of them that are dead, and most of mine are alive. So I got one now that we hope is going to be dead if I ever get to go. Mr. Moore, come on up.
Okay, these guys are going to be a tough act to follow here. I'm usually not the one speaking in my house. It's usually short, yes ma'am, no ma'am, you know how that is. But anyway, I want to thank the committee. I am honored and humbled beyond belief for this award. I want to thank my wife and my kids for letting me, for backing me, enjoying everything that I love about this sport. It's kind of funny, before I started in this sport, I think it was in 1975 or 76, the state tournament was at Fairmont Auditorium, and I'm working 4 to 12 shift, and of course I get down, I run down to Rockport and drive like a maniac to Fairmont to get in there. And when I walk in the door, I look and I say, there's Coach Archer and Coach Oldham sitting there talking to each other, and I'm going, good Lord, it's almost 3 o'clock in the morning. What's the matter with these guys? You know, be in bed, getting ready for tomorrow. But anyway, it's kind of funny because 30 years later, Coach Jackson and myself is sitting out there in the hallway at 3 o'clock in the morning still talking. But anyway, this is a great sport, and how I got started is never dreamed of ever coaching wrestling before, and Dave Jeffrey and the Recreation Commission there come to me and he goes, you want to coach wrestling? Well, yeah, I'll give it a try, see what I can do. But anyway, that's how I got started, and studied a lot of films and went to a lot of wrestling tournaments and stuff, and I worked in rec league and coached there for about 3 years, and it was really great. I really enjoyed working with kids. Of course, coached baseball too all my life. But anyway, after the Wood County Rec League, I went on to have a club called the Parkersburg Cougars that Mike Linton coached, and he was above and beyond a great coach. I mean, I learned so much from him. It was really amazing because Saturday mornings we'd usually wrestle in Pennsylvania every weekend, and there'd be 27, 29 cars lined up, and we're going to Pennsylvania. We wrestled, every Saturday was in Pennsylvania, and it was right then I decided, you know what, this is what I really want to do. I love this. This is great. But anyway, moving on after the Cougars, about my last year there, I decided I wanted to be a wrestling official. God only knows why, I have no idea there. But anyway, it was great. I officiated for a few years, worked my way up to a Class 1 official. Done a couple years of regional tournaments, and then I decided, you know, really like coaching better, so let's go back to coaching. But I really wish I'd have stuck around and got to do the state tournament at least one time. But anyway, that's all hindsight. And when I was officiating, Burton Rogers had passed away, God love him. I thought that he was a great man. He kind of took me by the collar, and we traveled together and got to officiate with him, and I learned a lot off him. It was really great. And then, anyway, had a lot of great memories in officiating wrestling, and one that kind of sticks out in my mind, I'm officiating up at Parkersburg South, and they're wrestling the team, and the other team had wrestled before, a week or two before, and I'm doing the weigh-ins, and back then you had to have your hair cut above your collar. So this kid comes in, he goes, we done the weigh-ins, okay, and you got to get your hair cut. And he goes, I wrestled last weekend. I said, well, evidently the official didn't do their job. I said, I'm going to do mine, you got to have a haircut. He runs back and cuts about that much of it off. It's still down about right here. And time's running out of money, and I said, hey, you got to cut your hair. So 5 minutes later, he runs back, time just about out. And I said, that's not acceptable. So the coach just reached up there and got him on the hair, guys took a knife off and just sawed his hair off. That coach become my MC hero at the time. I thought it was absolutely great. But anyway, I had a lot of great times officiating wrestling. And then moving on, after I got back into coaching, I took over I coached in junior high with Pat Peters, who was one of my first junior high head coach. I don't know how I really got hooked up with him, but I really enjoyed coaching in the junior high level. And then, I think after 3 or 4 years in the junior high level, I got a fellow come and asked me if I'd be interested in taking over the private club, the Patriot Junior Club. And I said, yeah. I said, that would be great. So we done that, and surrounded myself with a lot of great individuals, some ex-state champions and stuff. Gary Porter was with me the whole way. Dave coached with me over at the Patriot Club, and really took it serious. We run all over the country and then wrestled everywhere. And to me, it really wasn't about, we won a lot of state champions, individual state champions and team titles. And in 1989, we won the Tulsa National Championship out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And that was great goals at the time. But my main goal in wrestling was to prepare the kid to walk out on the mat the last Saturday night in February at 8 o'clock on mat line. That was my real goal. That's the state finals every year at the time. It's not that way now. But anyway, that was my main goal, and I had a lot of great times. Then moving on up to Parkersburg South, Paul Jackson came to me and asked me to help him coach, and had a lot of fun, a lot of great years there with Paul. And he's probably the only coach that probably should have fired me or kicked me out the door or something. We were at the Winning Park, either the duels or the OVAC wrestling tournament, I'm not really sure which one, and I'm bad about putting my glasses down, real bad. So we get back to him and say, oh, I've lost my glasses. I'm glad there's glasses laying up on the counter, and he goes, hey, Jordan, they ain't mine. So 12:30 at night, pouring the rain down, we're with flashlights over walking around the Civic Center looking for my glasses. And we get back, I don't know, we look around maybe 20, 25, 30 minutes, come back, and man, I lost my glasses. So I walk up there, walk back in the room, and I look, and I said, oh my God, that's my glasses. And I'm not sure what the exact words, but I think it was something about a donkey I heard. I'm not sure. But anyway, I had a lot of great times in high school, and then after Paul retired, Donna Dixon took over the team there for 3 years, and I was fortunate enough to get to coach with her. And then Sean Smith took over after her, and I stayed with him, and it was really great. Had a lot of fun. Had a lot of great coaches all around. I think I mentioned Jeremy there, Dave, and everybody. But some of the main things that stick out for me in coaching is I got to sit down with kids. I got to help them with their homework, prepare them for some of the school tests and stuff. I always told them, I said, boy, sit in the front row, keep your mouth shut and smile. That'll help a lot. But anyway, and it was really enjoyable helping kids. And one of probably my most better moment in wrestling was kind of a troubled kid in school, and he quit the wrestling team. So I talked to Paul was the coach at the time, so Tim Schwartz, the principal, and I went up to Tim and I said, hey Tim, how about let me sign him out and take him home with me and talk to him for a little while. I don't think you dare do that now this day, turning the kid loose to somebody who's not even a relative. But anyway, took him out home, sat him down, talked, and I coached him since he was little. And went back to Paul and said, you know what, he'd like to come back to team. Paul said, well, okay, we can do that. Said he may have to pay the price and do a little extra work, but we can work with that. So he did. He ended up becoming a state champion, which is great. And he joined the service, and he was a platoon leader and served 2 terms over in Iraq. And really turned out a good story. I really love the kid like he's my own. But anyway, had a lot of great years, got to meet a lot of great people, and I thank God every day that I've got to be around great people in the sport of wrestling. Because without everybody, I'm not sure that I could ever enjoy life the way I have. But anyway, thank you very much.
Next, Mr. Jack Reed.
I'll let you know when she's back.
I just want to make sure I wasn't the guy that tripped over the steps coming up. So I made, first I stand there very humbled to be here today. I just can't believe I'm up here. First want to thank the committee for giving me this great honor. Thank you, Bill and Diane Archer, for all the hard work you do, along with Wayne and Diane, with everything you set up and the letters sent out, everything you did for us. I just thank you for helping and putting this on for us, and all the committee. I want to thank you for all your hard work and everything you do. Before I get going too far, Bill told me to make sure I do this. I want to thank my wife, Billy back there, and my family for putting up with me and supporting me through all these years. It was great to do. Back over about 30 years ago when Larry Deaton, I walked in Martins Ferry High School, Larry Deaton threw me a set of wristlets and a whistle and said, grab a mat and let's go. He said, we need some help. I never thought I'd be here. I never thought I'd make it this far, be standing here today. And with the help of the good Lord and being blessed, I'm here. He blessed me with the ability to become an instructor and be able to teach and help other young men become wrestlers and wrestling officials, which is a great honor for me. I sat and listened to Mr. Giovingo there. I knew his dad very well. When I had heart surgery a few years ago, I sat one night at home and the phone rang, and I was very surprised. He said, Jack, I just want to see how you're feeling. And that's the kind of friendships you build in wrestling. I mean, the coaches and the officials, there may be arguing and everything during the matches, and there may be times it's hard. But when you're down, I remember Ray Marling saying when I was sick that he had to pull off the road for over 45 minutes to answer all the phone calls, want to know what happened to me. And that's the kind of sport wrestling is. It's a brotherhood. It's so great to be a part of it, and I want to thank everybody for giving me this honor. And then in closing, the last thing I want to say is thank you, Kenny, for being such a good friend. Thank you.
Next is active Mike Stoney.
Everybody's about covered telling how appreciative they are. I'm very appreciative of what's happened and being elected to the committee. And as Dean was saying about wrestling being a family, it's one thing I've learned since when I first started officiating, that wrestling people are a completely different group of people than anybody else. You go to a football game, they fight, they argue. You go to a wrestling match, they may argue back and forth, but when the match is over, everybody's still friends. And it's one of the things that I've learned all the years that I've refereed. And I do want to thank one person especially. She stood with me for 42 years and put up with all my running every weekend, sometimes 4 or 5 times a week. And to my wife. Sorry, I didn't mean to. When I was trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about, when you look back, I started refereeing in 1970, in January of 1970. And I retired in February of 2020. And to try to find one or two little things to talk about over that many years, the things that I've learned, and I really appreciate coaches. I know coaches, a lot of coaches, like Mr. Archer, for example, he hated referees. But people didn't know Bill. Bill's one of the greatest guys you could ever sit down and talk to. And we've had differences, coaches and officials are always going to have differences. And it's matters of interpretation. And there's been so many changes in 50 years. When I first registered to referee, it cost you $5. You got a college modified rule book, and you were an official. No training. If you didn't get hooked up with a group or some coaches, and we didn't have a board like we have now. And if you wanted to referee, you had to go make contact with all the teams. It's the only way you could get started. And I had two great guys that probably half this room don't even know. Jim Phelps, who used to be state rules interpreter, he was my principal. And he, along with Bobby Del-Renzo, were my mentors when I first started refereeing. And the big changes, you know, like I say, with the rule books, but there was a lot of changes in my life along with the years of officiating, where I met people from all over the state. Because first, you know, you kind of referee just in your area. And there were guys that I met that are outstanding officials. And I know I'm going to miss somebody, but like, guys don't know Joe Grass. I remember the day they called us and told us that Joe Grass had passed away. And I was teaching, and Jim Phelps came down and told me, I said, get me a sub, I can't do this. But there was Joe Grass, George Keeney, Larry Deaton, Ray Marlin, Shane Kildow, Chris DeCirio, Jerry Cowan, Heath Jenkins, and Kenny McWilliams. These guys have all had an effect on my officiating. They've we all work together, and believe me, the coaches don't realize we criticize each other. We're our own worst enemy if you make a mistake. I guarantee you, you make a mistake, nobody may not say anything until we get in the locker room. And they won't let you forget it if you make a mistake. One of the things that I'm real proud of, I started a wrestling program at Miller Junior High School in Fairmont, which is now West Fairmont Middle School, and the program is still going, and we started it back in 1975. And I also am the instructor for new officials for our board, and we have several outstanding young officials coming up, and we have one back here today, Hayden Stewart. Worked the first state tournament this year, he's ever worked. These guys make me proud, and they make me look good. And I really appreciate, you know, everything that they do and that we do for them. And I plan to continue instructing new officials. And I know everybody, I was telling my wife when I was sitting back there, that it seemed like everybody's speech, they said, this honor really humbles you. And I said, it's amazing. I think everybody had it written down. I've got the same thing as one of my closing remarks, is that how humbled I am to receive this award. And with that, I'd like to thank you and thank everybody for attending, and thank the committee for everything they do. And if I can ever be a help, let me know.
The next inductee is Tyler Westbrook and his brothers who bid on his.
How you doing? My name's Westbrook. I'm Tyler's my younger brother. I'm a little nervous right now. My mother told me not to drop any F-bombs on cuss. Don't talk fast. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm about to take a test right now. Sick in my stomach. I know I didn't study. You know what I mean? I'm a kid habit. Hope for the best. But my brother, we lost him in 2015, August 28th, to active duty suicide. He was in Green Beret in the United States Army. But beyond that, he was in high school, man. Everything he does, like 110%. Just man, he's awesome. He's like my best friend, wrestling partner in crime. I'd go to jail, he got out. He was a lot slicker than me, smarter, that's good. And, like I say, in high school, he was fourth in his class. I got a scholarship going to his name. The kid fourth in class at Williamstown High School. You get Tyler and Westbrook scholarship. Right now we're up to almost $95,000 in it. But it produces as you go. We put money into it. We do fundraisers. We do Westbrook Strong. It's a non-profit organization. Gives suicide awareness. Tries to educate kids, not only veterans, but kids, adults. Let them know if you need help. There's always somebody out there. Out of high school, he went to WU, graduated magna cum laude. He was like in the top, again, top in his class, top of everything he did. He's like 110%. I'm like, that's awesome, man. I'm like, what you playing now? He's like, I'm gonna enlist in the Army. And I'm like, I'm in the Navy. I'm like, why are you gonna do that? And he's like, dude, Waylon went in. Well, we have an older brother. He went to the Air Force, went to the Navy. He's like, I'm going to the Army. I'm like, oh, you're gonna do the officer program? He said, no way, dude. I was like, man, why not? He's like, that ain't my style. So he goes in. Same thing, out of boot camp, top of the line. He comes out, camp crew member. We're top of the line there. He goes 82nd Airborne, right on 82nd Airborne, right into the Green Beret. He's like elite of elite. And I'm like, yeah, Lord, man, I can't compete with that. I went in as an E3 and I left as an E3. I make rank and they take it away, and my brother just racking points. Check this out. And I'm like, look, they took all mine. But just like stories like us having to follow behind Coach Gibbons, I thought that was awesome because he nailed all the Williamstown stuff because that ain't no joke. Coming up through the Pee Wee program, there was, our Pee Wee program, if you wrestle for Williamstown, you wrestle for Williamstown for life, man. It's a brotherhood like little guys are explaining. That's how wrestling is. It don't matter if you win or lose. I've got this whole wrestling team here. I invited them all to come. I was like, 2002 wrestling team. I got most of them here. I packed up the van. I said, hey man, I run in the van. You got a designated driver, and I got a cooler beer. And they said, oh yeah. Had a few of them this morning telling me it's under the weather, and some boys got football games going on, but I got half of them at least. But like I say, he was elite of the league, man, and falling behind coach with the wrestling. Like I say, you wrestle Williamstown for life, man. You go up to Pee Wee, junior high, high school, and that's what we did. It's like my wrestling partner the whole time. You come up to the Pee Wee ground, like I said, Pat Peters, I was a junior high coach. You get in high school, you got Coach Pickens and Jeff Gibbons, that's our high school wrestling coach. And then we talk about the Masons. He wasn't joking when he said, you're making your faces in the mat the whole time. You don't make comments to Bill Mason, like you're dating his daughter or something. Josh, you know what I'm talking about. I came in one day and I got my neck wrenched, and Bill, he comes in, and I'm always like, I don't want him as a partner. I don't want him. He's old, but he's mean. Comes in, he said, I don't know why, I do not know why to this day why this came out of my mouth. I've never dated his daughter, I never held her hand with this. He said, hey, how'd you get them hickeys on your neck? And I turned and looked at him and said, your daughter? And I'm not going to say that. I went to practice that day with two black eyes, and he said, you want to say that again? I said, never. Like Coach said, there's lessons to be learned, and it's like Coach Pickens ain't here today. Man, he wishes he could be here. He's under the weather, but I'm wearing his tie. In 2004, he got inducted here. My brother was here. My brother said, hey, Coach, I want that tie. He's like, all right, I'll give it to you, Tyler. I'll give it to you. Well, after my brother's funeral, he said, hey, your brother wanted this tie. I'm going to give it to you. And I was like, all right. I was like, well, I'm going to pass it on as you pass it on to me. Coach has got a grandson coming up. I coached him in Pee Wee wrestling. He's moving up to junior high, and when his time comes, he's going to get the tie. But this whole thing is awesome, and I know my brother's got a shit-eating grin somewhere in this room laughing at me right now because he knows I don't like talking in front of people, but I can sit here and bullshit you the rest. I can tell you lies, and I think I'll try to tell you the truth and they're not. You know what I mean? I give you false truths. I'm pretty good at it. My mother said no cuss words, no F-bombs. She said don't talk fast. All right. I won't do that. I'm never settle on. I knew he'd think this is awesome. He wouldn't want me to brag him up, and he wouldn't want to be up here speaking, saying that you guys owe him anything or anything like that. He just does what he does. And he was the elite, and just what I can read you the letter that Coach Pickens wrote for him to get into this thing, and Whitmore and Timmy Haddix, man, they got this stuff lined up, and they told me that, and I was like, dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. If I read your letter, it's pretty cool because he talked about how Ty, you know, he did my brother's eulogy at the funeral, man. And his line was, he's like best. That's how he described my brother, the best. He did the best. He was the best, and everything was the best he wanted to be. And right now, he wouldn't want you guys to have to give him an award. He wouldn't want this, but man, I know he's got a big old shitty girl on his face. He's like, bro, this is cool, man. Yeah, it is. Pretty bad. I want to say thanks to everybody. I want to say thanks to Williamstown Wrestling. I want to say thanks to the 2002 wrestling class who rode up to me today. Man, we had coolers of beers, and I got a load of vans. I appreciate it. I told them, I was like, hey, man, you guys pack up. I got beers in the van. Hey, they said social. I just got them dudes, right? The same we did, we walked in here, and I was like, don't you worry, there's a bar outside. And went out there and I talked to the lady and she said, well, that opens at 5. You guys, I'm like, we ain't gonna be here by 5. They said this thing starts at 1:45, 5 o'clock, no way, man, we'll be out of here. But, I just want to say thanks. I say, Williamstown Wrestling, we represent here pretty good. It's pretty awesome, man. I love it. And like I say, stage, like I say, P.D. Dowler, Josh Flesher, Ryan Scott. I mean, these were guys, all these guys in the league, man. Elder, you got Stats, Ben, Buck, you know all these guys, dude. My mom, I want to thank her, and my daughter, my girlfriend, everyone's here. The Masons, I swear, even the dudes, there ain't an ugly Mason, I'm telling you that. You know what I mean, Fletcher? All right, I just want to say thanks, and hell yeah.
Young man, just so you know, I always appreciate people that lower the bar. Never one to deny that. I think it was probably Coach from Big Creek. He really helped us out one time. I couldn't have said anything worse than what he said, so we always appreciate it. In all honesty, for you guys, I have, besides being administrator, I have master in counseling, and I dealt with a situation like that, and I screwed up. Kid came back, and I talked to him for about an hour, and I knew he was right. 2 weeks later, he killed himself. When he was at Huntington High, he said, Marine. So that's the very, if you guys get any chance, any time to do something to help vets, you gotta do that. And that dumbass that we got the president doesn't understand that, because he's already got 13 more killed. That's a fact. But anyway, if you have any situation, if you know anything about talking to people or counseling, that's how it happens. The military, you don't need to explain anything. look at the person, and it's all right here. Tell his whole life story. All these things you've heard about guys. See a guy with a green beret? Okay, he ain't decided to be transgender. Okay? Those guys all have a place. And then they come home with the rest of us idiots. Okay? So if you ever get a chance helping those guys, you already can help them. And if you've been a part of that, matter of fact, anybody that's in the military, stand up. I start talking about politics, you're not saying you want to see Monday night football. Wayne Yankovic is next.
Bill, I don't have a piece of paper because when Bill called me and set down the rules, he said, "You're the last one, you got 30 seconds. Nobody else ahead of you are going to play by the rules, and everybody's going to have none but," that's not the word he used, "and I want to get out of here." So, Wayne Bennett, I appreciate you for nominating me and the committee for selecting me. And, you know, never did I ever think, you know, when you start coaching, you don't think about these things. You're just there for the kids and doing what you think is right. And you make a lot of mistakes, and you learn as you go. And so, a lot of people I want to thank. I need to thank my wife, Pam. You know, when I told her I wanted to start coaching wrestling back in '83 or so, she goes, "Why do you want to wear tights and jump off a rope?" She was WWE at that time. So I had to laugh and explain, and she agreed. And without, you know, her, you know, helping with fundraising, keeping score, you know, following us everywhere we went, this would have never happened on that. I need to thank Vernon Farrell and Caleb for taking over the middle school and keeping that program going. Sean Coleman for, you know, bringing, you know, young talent to the wrestling room and helping us get where we did. You know, Stacy and Sam Poland for trusting me with their 4 boys. They meant a lot to me. The coaches, you know, when I started, Ed Gilson, Mike Stump, you know, Sterling Bean, you know, I appreciate you leading the way, and I learned very quickly to pay attention to what those 3 teams were doing and trying to bring that talent, you know, skills to my kids. And the one thing of my goal in the whole time I was there was to get a team, enough kids to have a full team. So when I walked into, you know, into the gym, Sterling was there. I wanted him to start sweating that maybe I could beat him one day. And we got close to having a full team, and then we got consolidated, so that didn't happen. So Sterling, I totally appreciate your friendship through the whole time, guiding me, and we were almost at every tournament together, and the boys got to know each other. And we went to Calhoun one day for a tournament, and I turned around, and Fayetteville and Braxton are sitting there together, and I go, "What's going on?" And they just said, "Oh, we're just going to call ourselves Braxtonville," because Sterling would always give his boys to me so I could have somewhat of a full team. So it is a wrestling family. We tell the boys that once you join Fayetteville, you're a family. And so, again, thank you for the committee and to Sterling and Stump and Gilson for, you know, guiding me as I was going through this process. So thank you.
that are in the Hall of Fame, just on your table. Let's pick it up, fill it out. And let me say one thing about next year, and quit. So you know, I don't nominate anybody that I know of. I never have done any of this. But you can go on Jen's site, at Hall of Fame, and it'll tell you what you're supposed to do. It's important to remember, and I like that this isn't for like this guy that coached for 10 years, he won the state 9 times, and then he left. That's the whole point. Everybody that we have has been involved in wrestling for 25 years. Okay? There's some other categories you see. You just saw somebody get the wrestler that gave his life for the country. Okay, we've also we've given that, I think, half the time. Is that all right? Because we've inducted 121 people in the Hall of Fame. And also, if you've got some guy, let's say he wrestled for your team, and well, I'll give you an example. One of our wrestlers is third in line in Homeland Security. And I went hunting with him. He's got more funds than God. And I said, who are you talking to? Oh, some guy was in LAX and he wouldn't come out of the restroom. So my guys were meeting him in New York. And I said, well, I was checking the weather. Anyway, that's pretty good. He started, and that's another thing. Global warming. That's a It's going to be 7 degrees hotter in 21 years. False alarm. And so we're paying $5,000 for gas for 7 damn degrees. Some places, if it's colder, big deal. Alaska's going to be 7 degrees higher temperature. Whoa! Whoa, boy, that's really bad. Windmills, they cost more to make than they save. We get 1% from damn solar panels. Woo! Oh, excuse me. I ain't good at political things, but what to do? Mike Pompeo and Nick Kelly, they ain't gonna let Trump lose. George Keeney's next. Give the prayer. If you got anybody you want to nominate, you don't understand what's on there. Jenny, thanks for coming. And leave out some of the stuff I said when you write it up.
Yeah, I was the guy with the longest speech, and I still am. Gary Bender told me to tell everybody this morning, congratulations. He was sorry he couldn't be here. His best friend, Terry Kendall's father-in-law, died, and he was there at his house just for him. There are 2 people that lost their lives because of COVID. Please, I hope most of you all are vaccinated. I'm not a politician. I'm not going to go into that. We lost Jeff Madley, one of our officials, and Jim Matney, the coach at Johnson Central, to COVID. Way too young. One gentleman we honored today gave all. He gave all. That's all we need to know about the wrestling community. The people we put in today, outstanding group. I appreciate the fact that everybody showed up. Look at the room. It's full. COVID's still running, but we're here. That tells you what you need to know about wrestling people. I appreciate you coming out. I hope you enjoyed the meal. I hope you enjoyed the company. I hope you enjoyed the time that we spent together today. And please come back next year. It'll be on the 30th of October, which is the last Sunday in October, and we'll do that. Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for these individuals that coached, officiated, and wrestled to the utmost. Thank you for the lives they've changed. Thank you for the ability that they passed on. Allow those people to prosper. Allow those people to become better people down the road, even beyond what they've accomplished today. Allow us to do all things for your name and your honor. Keep everybody that we have here safe. Make sure on the way home they're all taken care of. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.